Hello, welcome to another episode of Ish My Psychic Says with J Bell and Sam. And if you noticed a little bit, we've changed locations. We're in my home. I wanted to make things a little bit more comfortable and talk a little bit more freely without people walking in the studio while we're recording our podcast. So last time we talked about soulmates, and this time we're talking about karma and the different.
Well, this is Karma Part 2 because...
Well, Karma Part 1 didn't air because technology sucks.
Yeah.
I think that was our karma. So we're running this back a little bit here. And so Sam's going to break down karma in different ways, and we're going to discuss reincarnation and how we feel about karma and all that stuff. While she sits up very close, I'm going to sit back.
Right. So the belief in karma can serve as a foundation for personal growth. And I think every person that you have ever talked to in your life has mentioned something with karma.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because if you think back, it's like people will say things such as what goes around comes around, and karma's going to get you. And I can't wait for karma to serve me justice, or I hope I have front row tickets and seats to that karmic show, or even karmic soulmates, karmic relationships. We've all kind of heard that phrase, karma. But what is karma, right?
Yeah.
Like why do we believe in karma so much? The concept of karma is deeply rooted in various Eastern philosophies and religions, such as Hinduism and Buddhism. I couldn't say that last week.
Buddhism.
I kept saying weird things, but whatever. Karma is often understood as a principle of cause and effect. And we all can understand cause and effect, right? Like,
Yeah.
whatever you do, every action has a reaction. Whatever you put out is what you'll get back. How you treat others is how you're going to be treated. You know, everything has kind of like an undertone of karmic attachment.
Right.
We all have a karmic attachment style. Here are some reasons why karma is believed to happen according to the belief systems within Hinduism and Buddhism. Number one, the law of cause and effect. Karma is seen as a universal law of cause and effect. It can suggest that every action, thought, word, or deed has a corresponding consequence. And I think we all can agree with that because if you, like the butterfly effect is karma, right?
Yeah.
And if you treat someone poorly in a way of judgment or just toxic behavior,
Yeah.
and then, or you make fun of someone, like you bully someone, then next thing you know, you're sitting there being bullied yourself, or karma will follow. So the universal law of cause and effect is what you do will then come back to you.
But it don't come back fast enough, though.
I mean, in some situations. in some, I would say, like, in negative situations, yeah, it would probably come back pretty fast. But in positive, everyone sits there like, I put so much good karma out. Why won't it? But then you have, like, people that are like, hey, can I get you something? And you're like, no. And that was your karma. Like that one person at work wanted to buy you a candy bar and you said no.
Oh.
That was like your good karma being paid back.
It's not the karma that you were looking for.
Well, that's expectation, you know? If we have expectation of what karma is supposed to look like coming back to us, good or bad, then what would be the purpose of learning a lesson if you already know? That would mean that you could avoid it. That would mean you wouldn't have any growth. That would mean you wouldn't have any challenge.
But that's the way the universe works, though. We all have expectations of what something should look like. And when it doesn't look like what we thought it should, then we have a problem with it. We have a problem accepting that.
Right. Number 2 would be spiritual growth. Karma is believed to be a mechanism of spiritual growth and evolution. By experiencing the consequences of actions, individuals can learn important lessons, develop virtues, and progress on their spiritual journey. So if you end up learning that hard lesson, let's make an example. Let's say that you're looking at a friend of yours, right? And you are looking at a relationship and you know that it's toxic, and you're so pissed off at her because she keeps going back to this toxic person, their relationship's on and off and on and off, on and off. And you're like, why does she keep doing that? I would never do that. That's just crazy. I would never let someone treat me that way. And then next thing you know, you meet this person, and this person, like, I would say, gives you all of the green lights in the beginning. You're thinking, this is my person. I'm in love with this person. This person is going to be my future, whatever. We're going to spend the rest of our life together, have all the babies, and have all the good things. Then that person starts to do that to you that you saw your friend go through with their partner. And you're sitting there doing the same cycle that you judged your friend upon. That is a karmic cycle right there, because it's something that you're learning based off of something you judged upon. Or they say the people who definitely have more than they deserve sometimes. And I don't feel that way about human beings. I don't. But there are people out there who have, like they've been God's favorite or whatever, or they come from a very wealthy background. And you're just like, oh my God, like they are so lucky they have it all. And you're sitting there and you're not doing too well with your path, and you're kind of looking over and being like, it must be nice to be rich. It must be nice to have all those things. Boom, something happens, you become rich, and you really notice that people are coming around you, and you're thinking, oh my God, like where were they when I was broke? Where were they when I was poor? And you're starting to realize how isolated and alone you are, and how people around you are just fake.
Ooh.
So that's a lesson.
Yeah.
And then the opposite spectrum, where you're judging someone based off of what they don't have, like, oh, I would never be on the streets panhandling. I would never ask for money. I would never beg for money.
I stopped doing that.
Then you lose your job.
Yeah.
And you have nothing but to like be desperate because you can't find work and you're trying to survive and you're panicking. Then you get led to do those things just because you're in desperation.
Yeah, I've been there. I was out of work for 5 months, and ever since then, sometimes I get really mad at my job. We talk about it, but then I'm like, you know what? I need to be thankful, because you just never know what's going to happen.
Right. And so when we're looking at those karmic cycles, we have to understand that every action has the reaction, or every experience has consequences. That's karma.
Yeah.
And people believe in this because they've watched it happen lives, and they've experienced these things for themselves. Another reason why people believe in karma is because they feel that it balances the atmosphere, or it puts things in harmony, like setting it into that balance. Because karma is thought to maintain balance and harmony in the universe. Positive actions generate positive karma. Negative actions generate negative karma.
But how do you figure out between the two? Because, I mean, you could do a lot of positive things, give back, do all these great things. And a lot of times you see those people doing that just because, but then their karma still turns out bad.
Well,
or vice versa.
I mean, we don't know the whole story behind why their karma turns out bad. Like I said, there are so many circumstances or situations that maybe your karma is that person in front of you at Starbucks paid for your coffee. Maybe that was your good karma, because you can't put an idea on what your good karma is going to look like. And then people go all the way back to think that it's lifetimes from before, that they were probably a piece of dookie, and then they come into this life and they're like, damn, what did I do so bad in a past life that I'm getting all these things happening to me now? Right? Because then you can be in this lifetime being like, I am a genuinely good person. I follow the rules. I do these things to not be a piece of dookie. And why are these bad things following me?
Oh, I be thinking about that sometimes.
Yeah. So reincarnation and traditions that believe in reincarnation, such as Hinduism, Buddhism, karma plays a crucial role in determining the circumstances of one's future lives. The actions and intentions of the individual of their current life influence their experiences in future incarnations. Meaning, if you were a piece of dookie in the last life, your karma is going to be in this life for you choosing to not be a piece of dookie, and all of your circumstances from that past life. And this is for people who believe in that reincarnation. All of those circumstances that you created in that past life are now coming back to you in this life. That's not fair, right?
Right.
But you need to settle that with your soul, not with anybody else.
Hold on, let's pause this for a second. I'll tell you. All right, here we go.
Okay. So another reason that people deeply believe in karma is ethical guidance too. Like you get told that karma exists by other people in spirituality. People will be like, well, that's your karmic relationship. That's your karmic debt. That is the karma that you are serving. Or you'll get like these astrology readings or certain readings where they're like, oh, you paid off so much karmic debt in this lifetime. And then they're like, have a nice day. And you're like, wait, what does that mean? Have you ever done that? Have you ever had someone tell you that you paid off so much karmic debt, but then they didn't really explain it to you? And then they tell you to have a nice day. It's almost like...
No, I haven't. I tried one psychic way before I met you. And she told me...
How dare you?
And she told me I was going to get married by 30 and have all these kids and stuff. And none of that has happened.
Who was she talking to?
She was talking about me.
I know, but who? Like, who was she talking to? Because you don't got none of those things.
Exactly. So once that happened, I was like, me and psychics.
But see, that's not a psychic, okay? Because there's a big difference, and people get so they don't get it. Like, people will be like, I'm a psychic, but then they read your intention, or they read your desires, or they read like how you feel for the moment. Uh-huh. So that person was probably like an intuitive reader that read what you wanted. And she wasn't reading the reality of what was coming to your path. If I would have met you years ago, I'd be like, girl, you're going to struggle till you're 38.
No. Yeah, she told me all that. I was like, you know what? I don't care for... She was the reason why I didn't care for psychics for a long time until I met you. And then I was like, okay, I can try this again.
Yeah. So there's a difference. People, not all psychics are psychics. They just like to call themselves psychics. Intuitive readers are... They intuitively read based off of an intuition that is their own, right? But it doesn't mean psychic is past, present, future. It's someone who looks at you, separates themselves, and looks into your past and says, this. And then you're like, oh my God, that's happening. Oh my God, what's going on? Why does she know these things? You know what I mean? Like, that's different.
Yeah.
But see, that word has been thrown around so much, like narcissism, where people all over the place are like, well, I'm psychic. Psychic is past, present, future.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with being an empath reader. There's nothing wrong with being an intuitive reader. There's nothing wrong. Just state what you are. If you are an intuitive reader, that means intuitively you tap in. You don't see past, present, future. You're intuitively reading an energy. If you are an empath reader, you can just read into the other person's empathy. And sometimes intuitive and empath readers can get into your desires and your fears. And then that's what makes you feel like, as a sitter, that's what makes you feel like they're a psychic. But they don't really make any real predictions. The predictions they make are based off of your fears or desires. Right. Because they are feeling that this is something that's supposed to happen in your journey, where a psychic, they will completely go through that. They'll be like, oh, they're afraid that they're never going to have that. Okay, let's go further out. Okay, no, I don't see that. Let's go further out. Where are they? What's going on? It's like Flash. They jump so far ahead and they see where you're at, and they're super honest and super like, this is what's going to happen.
Right.
And it's like set in stone.
Yeah.
And then as a sitter, you're like, wait, well, why won't any of this happen? Well, because we're not reading your desires. We're reading what your path is showing us.
What's actually going to happen.
Like what your path is lining up towards. Whereas intuitive readers, and sorry, we're off topic. Where intuitive readers and empath readers, they will read the emotion. They will feel and absorb the energy. So, of course, it does feel like, hey, this is something that's going to happen. But then it never happens. Then what?
Yeah.
And a psychic will be like, oh, you really want kids. Oh, you want marriage. You want all of that. Let's see why you're not getting it. Okay, life lessons, there's this, there's that, self-improvement, not the right person, you keep it like psychics will go all the way through and navigate how it's going to happen, when it's going to happen, and why it's not happening now. Like, there's more in depth of like, okay, in the past, all right, there's this. In the future, this is where they're at. Let's go further out. Let's go further out. Let's go further out. And it's like quantum leaping. It's like energy leaping, where you leap so far to look at a person's life, and you come back and then you're like, this is not going to happen. Or, hey, I don't see this anytime soon. You know, there's been so many times that women have come to me and they've gone to doctors, medical doctors, and they're like, they told me I can never have a baby. And I jump out and I'm like, no, you'll have a son with this sign around this time frame. And they're like, no, I won't, because I'm not fertile. And then that time frame comes and they come around with the child. because it's like jumping far ahead to see
Yeah.
what's going to happen in that person's life.
Well, I thought you don't do pregnancy. You don't read.
Girl, it doesn't mean I don't know how. It stresses me out.
But I think that's why people are afraid of psychics too, in a sense, because you gotta think about, I know we gone way off topic. We're gonna get back to karma, but when you think about like the 90s with the talk shows they used to have on the psychics like Sylvia Brown, or
Right.
you heard about Miss Cleo and stuff like that, and you find out that they weren't like real psychics, people are scared, so they are trying to dip their toe in, and a lot of people will sell themselves as a psychic versus what they actually are, or if they're just a fraud.
Well, see, entertainment's going to sell you anything.
Right.
And to actually put psychics out there, that means you're willing to take the risk of someone sitting there and telling you that everything's a sham. That's why they put project psychics out there. They put people who definitely will not be able to actually see those things for your entertainment. It's so weird, but it's like a society like plague.
Yeah.
It's a society plague.
And that's their karma though.
Right,
Those psychics karma.
And I think maybe we can tap into that in another session.
Yeah.
Like where we're talking about like why people believe so hardly about like public psychics and the difference between those energy styles, because everything's on a spectrum, right? We talked about energy spectrum. Mm-hmm. Well, people that read into energy are also on a spectrum. When we go into karma, if we make that an example, if a person reads somebody and they're biased or they're only doing it for money, they're always going to be hungry for the money. The money, like they're never going to get rich doing it. Their karma is that they will always be like thirsty for the wealth.
Yeah.
But they will never get the wealth.
Yeah.
Like let's make an example out of that right now. So let's say you are desperate to reconcile with a boyfriend because you wholeheartedly think that this person needs to be in your life and you don't understand why it fell apart. So you go on the internet and you find someone who's claiming to be a psychic, a very well reputable, whatever, has a good reputation, is known for doing spell work and whatnot. And there's a healthy 50-50s. 50% of people believe in spell work, and then 50% of people don't. Right. And it's because of these situations right here. Mm-hmm. You can trick yourself so hardcore into believing bad things are happening to you because the psychic or the person who's abusing the energy is suggesting it. So let's make that example. Mm-hmm. You're trying to get this man to love you, come back, you want to reconcile. And there's a lot of you that are probably going through this situation.
I went through that.
So let's talk about that and use it as a karmic example.
I gotta sit up on this one. Hold on.
Take a deep breath. So as a karmic example, you go and you get this psychic or this person who's claiming to be a psychic to do a bunch of spell work to bring this man back to your life, right?
Yeah.
Not knowing that everything has a flow. Everything has free will. Now you're tampering with free will because you're trying to get this psychic to start a kidnapping in hopes of a marriage.
Kidnapping?
You're kidnapping. You are kidnapping a grown-ass person because you think that they're your possession.
Oh.
So you're starting a kidnapping and hoping for a marriage. Soak that in. So you're kidnapping someone's freedom of will, free choice.
Okay.
If they didn't want to be with you, that was their choice to not be with you.
Yeah.
You going and getting someone to do this love magic on them is forcing them to consider to be with you, putting it in your favor, which means energetically you're putting that person in a cage. You're trapping them. So what happens is even though that person will come because it's an energy, right? You're manipulating an energy. You're calling the energy. This practitioner is doing it. But this practitioner is like, hey, I need more money. Hey, I need more money.
That's a scam.
Hey, I need more money. Hey, if you don't pay these things, all these bad things are going to happen. And because that one thing that they did with manipulation of energy happened where this man came around you, everything's going sour. And the fact that they know that pulling this person towards you is going to make it sour, because when you mess with free will and you mess with and you manipulate the energy to be in your favor,
right?
How can anything go right? It's like the butterfly effect. If you stomp that butterfly, how is that effect ever going to happen?
Ooh. Ooh, you make a lot of sense with that, because I just remember after me and my last boyfriend broke up, how much I didn't go to a practitioner, or I didn't go to a psych or anything like that, but I did pray very hard in hopes that we would get back to reconcile, get back together.
Come back to me.
Exactly, and I did it for a very long time, and a lot of bad stuff happened, including me getting kicked out of my uncle's house.
So that example would be that not only would you suffer some karmic consequence, let's tie it back. How would you like it if you were minding your own business and you maybe were entertained by this person and you like this person, but then you were just like, you know what, they're just not the person I want to be with. And you mentally say, I can't have this relationship because I don't see a future with this person. And then you're minding your own business. Boom, they put love magic on you and you feel trapped. And you're like, why am I desiring this person? I don't want to be with them. Why am I forced? Like, why do I feel forced? Why am I around this person, but I just don't energetically like them? And you feel like you have this force to be with them, but you didn't want it because they went and did it to you. Like, let's think about that. All of the people out there that force somebody to be with them. How would you like it if someone that you had unrequited love, someone you were not fully attracted to, someone that you didn't really want to be with, forced you into love magic to be with them?
That's some bull.
But people are normalizing it. They think, well, they want to be with me. I know that they do. I know the connection was there. But women and men have connection in different ways.
Yeah.
You know, so women, we will have a connection in a very emotional way.
Yeah.
You know, and sometimes a very physical way. But with men, they can pretend a whole relationship. Women cannot. So even though it felt so real for you, what if it was unrequited for them? What if there was things about you that they were just like, I can't see a future with, so they dipped out?
That's exactly what my ex did.
Okay, but if they dipped out, isn't that the universe serving you like a better opportunity to not waste your time and your energy on something that just will not work out?
I realize that now. At that time, I did not. I just saw another failed relationship and I wanted it to work out.
Right. And so the ones that go for these practitioners that force these people to come back, there's so much negative karma that comes in with that situation, because you're forcing someone against their free will to be what you want them to be. And then you're forcing them to come back to you when they don't want to be with you. Karma. So that means that relationship will probably always be chaos and damage and deception, because how are you going to force someone to love you? If they don't love you, they don't love you. That means that they're going to lust other things because they don't desire you, which puts in the whole infidelity. Where how can they be faithful to you if they are your prisoner? Think back to Aladdin, Jafar and Jasmine. He put her in shackles. Yeah. Did she love him?
No.
No. Was he forcing her with magic to be there and want her to be desirable?
Yeah.
Did she want it?
No.
Because her heart was somewhere else.
Right.
Her heart was with Aladdin. So that's a karmic cycle. What is the ultimate thing that happened to Jafar? He then became a prisoner of his own chaos. Because then he wanted to be a genie, which means he wanted to be powerful, which means he got sucked into the lamp. He became a prisoner of his own chaos.
Oh, yeah.
Karma.
Yeah.
That's a karmic cycle right there. So we believe in karma because we understand karma. Karma is a concept that originates from the Indian religions, such as those Hinduism and Buddhism. Like Buddhists believe in karma so much.
Right.
They believe if you stomp on a bug, you will then get stomped in with energy, right?
Yeah.
They believe those things. Like what you put out is what you're going to get.
Right.
People choose to base their lives around the concept of karma because they think that it's moral and ethical. The belief in karma can provide moral compass for individuals, guiding them to make better choices that are considered virtuous or ethical. It encourages people to act with kindness, compassion, and integrity. So treat people how you want to be treated. That's karma.
That's what's something that you learn from Kindergarten is
Right.
one of the first lessons you learn. Treat others how you want to be treated.
Right.
Something I've always taken with me wherever I go. I always try to treat people the way I want to be treated. Unfortunately, I've been treated like shit. So it makes me wonder if I treat others like shit.
You know, I feel very much like when that happens to a person that does not go around being a piece of dookie.
You saying piece of dookie you send to me.
Piece of dookie. I think that it's more because you have to learn a lesson somewhere of self-boundary or self-discipline. Because when people are treating you like boo-boo for no reason, it's like, it's not really a character flaw in you, it's a character flaw in them. And it's showing you that either you need to grow some tough skin with the situation, not learn how to not take things personal, or learn to separate yourself. Because I don't think that, you know, okay, well, I treat everybody nice, but I'm getting treated this way. I don't think it's a personal attack, and I don't think it's karma. I think that it's because it's like, all right, I've already done a lot of karmic stuff. Now it's time for me to learn lessons in these situations to grow. Because if you're a person who takes things so personal, like someone can't roll their eyes at you without you being like, oh, hell no. It's like, okay, you have to learn a lesson in that, because that person could have, you know, got scolded all morning long by a parent or a spouse, went to work, feels like crap, dealing with you. You're complaining about, I'm spilled. And they're just like, oh, that's the last straw, right? So then you happen to be the person that they take it out on, but it has nothing to do with you. It has everything to do with, you don't know what another person is really going through.
Yeah, we never know.
And so people that treat you like crap, it's not because they're like, yep, that's the one, her right there. I'm going to treat her like doo-doo right now, all day, every day, free 99.
It just might be where they are in their life. It might
Right.
be something they're going through in their life. And instead of actually speaking those words and saying, hey, this is what's happening with me right now, they rather project it onto somebody else. That's what I've gotten from people like that.
Right. And I honestly feel like a lot of times when it comes to other people's behavior and the topic of karma is sometimes we have to take a big step back and say, was my day bad? Am I in a weird position? Do I feel cranky? Am I hungry? Am I thirsty? Do I feel like I'm mentally okay? Sometimes you do have to be selfish to say, okay, is it people treating me bad, or am I not feeling good? Or is that person just in a funk for their own reason? Because if we do that inner content, if we talk to ourselves like that, we're going to understand the separation of, okay, is it me? Do I stink today? Or is it their stink?
And I do that. I personally, I do that a lot. I sit there and think of it, because especially now, because before I would take in everybody's behavior.
Right.
Like I would internalize it and be like, well, why are they treating me this way? What did I do to them? Like even as recently, like when I moved here and I had to deal with a certain coworker and her attitude, and I just couldn't understand where it came from or why she was acting this way. Like one minute she was very nice to me and we were cool and we talked, and next thing I know, she is stuffing her nose up at me and ignoring me at work and trying to get me in trouble. And I never understood why. And then I had to get to a point where I was just like, you know what? It has nothing to do with me. She's insecure with her own self. And instead of actually trying to collaborate and actually be nice to work together, she'd rather be mean and be a bitch.
But that could be intimidation.
Yeah, and there's that too. But I think in this case,
But it made you leave work situations due to those behaviors.
right, in different areas. It's happened to me almost in every market that I've been in. But this time it was different because it almost got me fired. You know, because I really was like wanting to go way left and I couldn't.
Right. And I think when those happen in work dynamics, especially, like if you think about it, you work in a very competitive atmosphere.
Oh, yeah.
Right. And
Yeah.
it's not so fair. Like the radio and the industry is man-made. And women just don't fit in there, and they never will. There has been more sexual harassment cases. There has been more problems with women getting to the top because it's structured in such a masculine form.
Yeah.
And people at the top are old school about how they want it ran, where it's like women like you that have good personalities for this industry get kind of tossed around to the side, and because they see power behind certain people and they want to stunt it. That's what happens. And a lot of times in that industry, it's highly competitive for women. So of course it's catty.
Oh yeah, they try to pit us against each other. Or if a woman has been the only woman for a very long time and another woman comes in now,
It's hard.
she feels like somebody's trying to come and steal her spot. But I'm gonna tell you this:
It's not.
if I come into your building, I'm not there to steal your spot. I'm there to do a job and go on about my damn business.
Right. And so I think with karma, we have to understand that behaviors and the behaviors of others have really nothing to do with us.
It took me a long time to realize that.
Yeah. And we have to separate ourselves to realize that maybe that person isn't happy at home, because this happens in a lot of, like, in the hairdressing industry. And in any type of like beauty industry, this is like a very common thing. In television, in modeling, in radio, and I'm sure, like, let's say, like, okay, so that situation has happened to you several times in the industry that you've worked, but like, what's to say that it hasn't happened to those individuals too? And they're just acting upon what's happened to them before when they've allowed a newcomer to come in and that newcomer did hurt them. So it goes both ways.
Yeah, no, I understand that.
We don't really know all the reasons why people are treated in these industries the way that they are, especially amongst, because women should empower each other.
Yeah.
Like, women should be empowering. It doesn't matter who's the best, who's the favorite, who's this, who's that. Like, we all have to give each other space for our time to shine. And I think that kind of taking a step back and saying, you know what, I understand that in karma, it's something that is a repetitive cycle in the karmic zone of some stuff happened and I'm just falling into that cycle that someone else created, because it has nothing to do with you.
Right. No, I totally agree with that, and I totally understand that, and that's why I try to give folks grace, but sometimes you also got to show your ass too so they leave you alone.
Right. But sometimes it's karma that we have to end the cycle so that we don't fall victim to repeating it or learning more lessons through it.
I wish more people would understand that.
That's why we're doing the podcast, so we can teach.
But still, some people are still not going to get it.
I mean, do we have to break down the education in New Mexico? No, we don't.
No.
We do not. So, because people are just on levels. Some people are at the mental capacity to accept and appreciate that they're learning these lessons, and some people are just not ready, and that's okay. But if we can change the minds of several people by putting in concepts that will make sense to them, such as that Disney movie Aladdin, karma, if we can do that in such a simplified way where people are going to understand that we all are in this karmic race together, then that's just going to help more people get to that place where they're ready to accept that karma. They're ready to understand their karmic cycle and grow. And that's what we're doing.
Right. Yeah.
We're talking about karma because karma happens, and we all understand that there's a karmic cycle. You have to figure out what your karmic cycle is. Is it in love? Is it with career? Is it with yourself? Is it with your family? Karmic cycles exist, and they're everywhere. Sometimes, like, let's make another example, because we have people that want to listen in and people that want to have these examples. Your example is in the work dynamic where your karmic cycle like, you're trying to get into these places and build with other educated women.
Yeah.
You're trying to build a bigger platform for feminine empowerment in the radio force. You're trying to do something, and you get shut down because it's around people who are not ready to face that. They're not ready to be voiced. They're not ready to be seen. They're not ready to be heard. They claim it, but they don't want it. Their comfort and their comfort zone pushes you out because you're different. Karmic cycle is, what was your purpose? Your purpose is empowerment. Your purpose is feminine empowerment. You're very much a person who wants feminine equality within the workforce and feminine empowerment, and you want women to have better raises, and you're not sitting here saying, well, I'm better than her, how come her or not me? You don't do that. You sit here and say, and that person won, and I'm so proud of them, they worked hard. And I've watched you do that, where you're very quick to vocalize that you're proud of another woman. But then you don't get the same. You don't get women telling you, I'm proud of you, and be genuine. And so that's your karmic cycle, is in the work field.
And I don't understand that.
But see, it's because you have to do it by yourself and stop trying to do it as a team. You're supposed to get somewhere and make those changes. You're not supposed to hold hands and walk up together. And that's what you've been doing this whole time, is the karmic cycle is you're trying to get all these women on the same page as you. You're supposed to do it by yourself, but you're afraid to be seen as well. You're not afraid to be heard. You're afraid to be seen. You're afraid to be recognized. And it goes all the way back to trauma. Wow. I called you out in your own living room.
Yes. Listen, get out.
Listen, Linda.
Because I'm stunned because everything you said is correct. It really is.
The karmic cycle. And then we can make an example for listeners. A lot, like majority karmic cycles happen in love. Okay. Mm-hmm. And the karmic cycle is you're attracting what you're used to. So if you are, let's make an example. If you're used to being a woman in a male dominant family, and the male dominant family is full of men who ego, right? Men don't cry. We're tough. We don't do that. We don't hug. There's no emotion. There's no affection, because if you do, we're going to call you a puss, or we're going to call you a biatch. Like there's just no room for emotional stability. And it happens very frequently amongst the macho type of men. But let's say you are a female who is emotionally just available, emotionally just, you want emotional connection from a male.
Right.
But you end up marrying someone who's a egotistical, misogynistic, has these weird views on women, but you're like, that's fine. And you're comfortable with it because you grew up with it. Therefore you define it as normal. And then you're in a karmic cycle because are you happy with this man? No, because he's everything that your family is that you don't like.
Yeah.
But you're comfortable with it because you grew up with it and you haven't realized it. It's like, I love this person so much. And yeah, they have good qualities, but women are typically always going to marry what they're comfortable with.
What?
It's number one, and I'm going to say it, so just bear with me.
Okay.
Number one, women settle more than men do. Men will actually be very much like, no, I don't want her because I don't like her thighs. I don't like her because her arm do funny things. I don't like her fingers. I don't like her toenail. Like go that way. Like men are very much like, I just don't like it. Therefore I don't want it. Women, we see the potential. We are mothers. We are the moon. The men are sun. Men are sun. They're very much like, the day's bright. It's hot. Okay, bye.
Right.
You know? And women are like, oh my God, the beauty, the mysticism, the everything, right?
Yes.
The ocean, the orcas, the dolphins,
we look at the full picture.
Yeah, like we are the moon, because the moon is feminine energy and the sun is masculine energy. Therefore, everything has, masculine, feminine energy. And I'm not discluding non-binary. I'm just talking about this energy that we go through, right?
Yeah.
And everybody's accepted, everybody's allowed, everybody is appreciated. So I just want to put it out there. I'm not excluding any form of gender neutral or non-binary. I'm not excluding
that. Yeah.
But I just wanted to put that out there because I don't want that one person to call and be like, how come you didn't bring this up? And it's like, I'm sorry, we weren't talking about that.
Oh my God. Okay, go ahead. Okay.
So men are going to look at a situation and say, yeah, no, I'm out. She farted one time, I'm out. Whereas women, we are the nurturers, therefore we see the hidden potential, we see the mystery, we see the growth, we see all of that. Mm-hmm. But we end up marrying and dating, and it's usually before we grow. We end up being in a long-term relationship with something that's comfortable or something against the grain, which means that a lot of women will go for something completely opposite of her family if her family was completely controlling and did not let her be her authentic self. Therefore, that family will never like that spouse. But then she doesn't like the spouse either, because in a weird way, she did it out of this rebellion, this authenticity, this need to do something out of structure and control. Right?
Yeah.
And then we have the people who will end up being with a significant other who has a lot in common with their dad and their brother, and it's all right. She can't stand being when they're talking because they're loud and they're obnoxious and they're yelling at each other about politics. And she's just sitting there saying, why am I so unhappy?
Listen, because everything you're saying is just like so on point. Listen, I have an ex that actually dated me just because his family liked me.
Exactly.
He hated me.
But because the family wanted you and loved you,
he decided to be with me.
Yeah. And so there are a lot of men who are very in the like the feminine energy,
Right.
and that's okay. It doesn't mean they're feminine. It means that they're more moon, where they're going to see the potential in you and waste your time and their time. And that's what women usually do, is we waste all of our time and energy on the wrong partner because we think, oh, I can love them back to health. I can do this. I can mother them. So you become mommies to these grown ass men who had mommies, and then people wonder why you all get cheated on, because who wants to fuck their mom?
I never try to be anybody's mom. But sometimes men don't know what the hell they be doing. You gotta help guide them a little bit. But I don't
feel like the right person, you don't have to do any of that.
That's true. That is true.
And I feel like the right person is worth waiting on when you're potentially finished with all your growth.
But are you ever really finished with growth? Like, that's a whole nother conversation too.
You can be finished with growth when you are finished with cycles, but you will always evolve with that growth. Mm-hmm. So there's always evolution.
Yeah.
And in karma, if you keep yourself in these karmic cycles, you can keep yourself in a karmic cycle of being alone too. By not accepting self, not wanting to be vulnerable, not wanting to take a risk. And so then you're in this karmic cycle of self-sabotage. I'm sorry, ladies, your Grubhub delivery driver is not your soulmate.
Yeah, I know my DoorDash driver is not that, because it can
different.
It can either be a male or a female. Or somebody that don't know how to read directions. If you can't read directions, you is not.
I always have women tell me, oh, when am I going to find someone? And then they never leave their house. And I'm like a psychic looking at them never leave their house. And I'm like, how are you going to put me on the spot like that when you never leave your couch?
That's me. Oh, but I have a good reason for why I just don't feel safe going out. That's a whole nother story. But I have a lot of anxiety when I go out. I just don't feel comfortable going out around a lot of people that are my age here, just because of
all the things that have happened.
Yeah. All the things that have happened. Plus, this state is known for drunk driving like a mug. I ain't trying to die out here.
It's pretty scary. And the dating pool is like going to a sewage swamp and trying to fish.
Yeah, I heard it's really bad here. But also, too, I feel like because I've worked on getting over my last ex first and really completely letting that go. Now I'm learning to be okay with being single before I go back into dating. Because my karma in the past has been, oh, this dude don't want me. Okay, I've tried long enough to make him want me. Now I'm just going to jump in with somebody else. And then I go through that same mess all over again. And I almost did that. Almost did it. But caught it early because I was just like, something is not right. And just like you had mentioned earlier about how you're with someone and you're just like, why am I not really into that person? Why am I trying to will myself to really like this person? And I had to sit there and think about it. I was like, I never really was into him like that. He convinced me of being in this situation with him and liking him when I had already said, I don't think it's a good idea for us to date. I'd rather us keep our friendship.
Right.
And it's kind of like he willed the situation.
Right.
And so now I'm like, okay, I got to definitely be careful about my wording. And I gotta say this, for me personally, I don't think men and women can be friends, at least not in my situation. Because my karma has,
It's hard for opposing sexes to be friends and keep it friends. Right.
Because I was going to say my karmic cycle has always been when I'm friends with a guy, for some reason he says he likes me and convinced me I like him, and then sex comes along, and then it's
it's awkward.
Yeah, and it's a never-ending cycle.
Yeah,
it's like I get sexualized every time. I'm like, if you really are my friend, you're never going to try me.
Right. I think the only way that situation would work, like if women and men are friends, is if there's a couple involved, like where the girl is friends with the couple, but there's always a boundary, there's always a boundary. Like I'm my best friend and her partner, like I absolutely love their relationship and I love them both, but there's a boundary because I would never overstep my best friend to be close to her man.
Right.
And she would never overstep me to be close to my man.
Right.
And so there's always a boundary with it. And I feel like the only way a female could have a relationship with a male is if like they grew up together and it's like brother sisterly, where you know it's never going to be that way. Or if it's like acquaintance, like we went to school together, we knew each other, but it's like there's always a boundary. But if there's no boundary with that friendship, yeah, it can get really confusing, because if you're not stating those things and they're not stating those things, any situation can get confusing.
Or even if you have stated those things, because like I said, I stated boundaries. I said it would never work.
But in karmic cycle, because you've had friendships that happen, that means you were still in a cycle karmically with that situation, because karma will show itself like this. Okay, yeah, you said that boundary, but let's just throw a little jab in there and see how you deal with that boundary.
And I didn't.
And then you didn't. So therefore you went through that karmic cycle all over again. It takes for you to face it and say no for the karmic cycle to end. Like you really have to be like, no, stand my ground. Don't want it. Not, maybe. That's you going back into karma.
And that's exactly what I did. And then when I finally figured out that this is not a good situation, I said no and got myself out of it.
Right. Another thing is like, what about that person's karmic cycle? What if their karmic cycle was just that they get themselves involved in sexual intimate relationships too soon?
It might be.
Why does everything have to jump to sex right away? Karma. There's a karmic cycle, because people feel that means connection. People have disregarded mental connection. They have disregarded getting to know someone before jumping in the bed. Then you have all these women that are like, I hate my baby daddy. But it's like, why'd you sleep with him?
Wasn't even trying to get to really know that person. Take your time.
You should have taken your time to get to know that person. Yeah, that's fun. It's connection, whatever. But, you can't get mad at something you decided to do.
It's karmic cycle.
Yeah. I mean, I am a single mom. I have raised 3 kids by myself. No child support, no help, no nothing. I mentally know that I laid down with those people.
Yeah.
I'm not mad at them. They can
go about their business.
They can live their life, and I am not mad. I am not bitter. I am not mad. I am not upset, because I made the conscious decision knowing the repercussions from it.
Right.
So a lot of times karmic cycles here's another karmic cycle. You watched your single mom raise children. You're like, I'm never going to be like my mom. I'm never going to do these things like my mom. Then you're 30 years old doing all the things like your mom.
I almost like my dad, because my dad is a single dad.
Because when you say it out of judgment, or you say it from a place, then you are faced with it in some part of your life. It may not be today. It may not be tomorrow. That's why karma is so scary.
Yeah.
Because it's like this abusive intention, but it's like, you'll never know when I'm coming.
That's why you say
it's like,
what's the saying? God don't come when you want, but he always come on time. Yeah. It's kind of like with karma. Karma is, you might want it to come right then and there. Like, I ain't gonna lie, when I found out my ex got engaged and he was married, what did I say? I hope his marriage ends. I hope he does. But in retrospect, why would I wish that on somebody else? Because that could happen to me, and that's not a good thing.
Exactly.
So, it's a very jacked up situation. I chased that man for a very long time. And I think that's why I had to be like, you know what? I can't go into another situation like this, because it is a karmic cycle to continue to mess in be in a situation where there's no true intimacy, not just you sticking your Peter Weeder inside of me and then calling that a relationship, because that's not a relationship. Sex is not a relationship. And my karmic cycle is like, get into these things that I think are relationships, or having sex with someone thinking that's going to turn into a really good relationship, when the fact of the matter is they're there for maybe 2 things. One, to get on my damn nerves, and the other thing is to get some butt whenever they want to, and not have to do anything extra.
That's a lot of people's cycle, though.
Right, but I'm talking about in my case.
That's why hookup culture is so bad.
And that's why I don't want to participate in it. I'm done.
That's you breaking a cycle.
Yeah, I had to, because
maybe the last situation you were going through was the ending phase of that cycle, because maybe that was like the straw that broke the camel's back.
Right.
Where you were like, absolutely no more.
Right, and that's what I said to myself. I was like, if I keep putting myself in these situations, I'm going to continue to attract that energy over and over again, and I can never break that cycle if I don't do it now. So even though I might have hurt that person, it's not about him. It's about what I want for me.
Right. I agree. And I think any person out there who is struggling with karma, why don't you recognize the cycle behind the karma and then make a decision?
I think it's hard to do when you're so into self. I think a lot of us are very self-absorbed, and we just think things happen to us because
we're bad people.
Yeah. Or they think nothing bad is going to happen to them because they claim they have all this good karma, not realizing they're leaving a wreckage of bad-ish behind them.
We need a soundboard so I can make like fart noises.
It's a soundboard actually, but I don't know if it'll do a sound. I got it backwards, I think. Hold on, guys. I don't have a fart sound though. So I have, you can't hear it.
It's okay. Don't worry about it.
Okay. Yeah,
Sam needs a soundboard.
Okay, well, we'll get you some fart sounds or something.
We need a boo. We need a clap. We need a like a check mark ding.
I actually like us doing our podcast like this. It's a lot more comfortable.
Yeah.
In my opinion. But yeah, like karma cycles come in different ways. And again, I learned something all the time. I feel like this is very much my therapy session. And it's different because it's not biased. And it's been a very slow growing thing. I've learned a lot of stuff from you, Sam. I'm not going to lie to you. I think that's why I'm able to deal with things differently, or like kind of,
because you have a different perspective now.
Yeah. Like just kind of get it off my shoulder. Like even being, I'm turning 39 literally in a month, and I'm like freaking out about it. But at the same time, I'm like, you know what, though? I don't have no dusty ass son. Somebody's dusty ass son stressing me out. Okay. I'm not nobody's third baby mama. And
fourth or fifth.
Right, exactly. And I don't.
This is Albuquerque, New Mexico.
And I don't live with my parents right now. This is the longest I've lived on my own. My dad has helped me. I appreciate it. But it's helped me grow a lot as a person, as a woman. Learning how to be single.
Women empowerment. It's a hard thing to help women with because people think it's feminism, and it's not. It's like we're not bitter about. I'm not bitter about men. we're not bitter about men.
No.
But the fact of it is that, you know, sometimes you have to meet someone in your path that shows you that you don't have to do anything you don't want to.
Mm-hmm.
And that's empowerment.
Yeah.
Where it's like, no, think for yourself. Do what you want to do. Make your life happy. Because the whole point of living in this life is figuring it out self.
Exactly.
But we don't.
We think we have to have everything figured out before we're 30.
You have to have kids, and you have to have a nice house with a dog and a picket fence, and everything's perfect. And that's material wealth.
And that's not realistic.
That ain't going to make anyone happy if you don't have nothing in your head or in your heart.
Right, exactly. And that's not realistic, especially in these times.
Right.
We make our own rules. You make your own karmic cycle. Right. If you feel like you should be married by this time and do all this stuff, more than likely...
Go marry yourself.
Yeah. Or more than likely, you're going to be divorced before you're 40 because, right. I mean, times are different. People are different. Everybody's goals and dreams are different. Right. I personally thought I would be married by now and having my second kid. No, probably going to be more like my dad's statistics of having a kid at like 40 or older. And, you know, if it's just one kid, I'm okay with that. At least, hopefully that kid is healthy, and whoever I'm with, having the kid with, they love me very, very much and love everything about me. Yeah. Because, yeah, I'm not having any kids with anybody that is psycho.
Right. I think this was a great segment because we had a lot of different concepts, and we can talk about those examples. And I think any person who's dealing with karma, I mean, write us a story. Like, send us in your karmic example. Let us explore your karma with you. We can navigate it. You can call in and we can talk about it, or you can send an email and talk about your experiences. You can send us an email about your worst dating experiences, and we can see if it's a karmic cycle. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Where would they email it?
Yeah, email us those stories, or if you have questions, we'll go over them and Sam will answer them on the podcast. Email it at jbellmedia.com. I'm actually going to put this at the bottom of the screen, but it's JBELLE media@gmail.com. Email us your stories. We'll discuss them. Until next time, guys, we will catch you later because we both got work to do, okay? Peace out. Peace out, guys.
Bye.